What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about freelance photography and how to stay mentally healthy. I have my good friend Dr. Ali, who has an incredible YouTube channel. Check it out, the Psych Show.
That's it.
Where else can they find you?
The Psych Show on YouTube. That'll get you everywhere.
That'll get you everywhere. I watch it as often as I can. I find it immensely helpful and interesting.
Thanks, buddy.
I really recommend you guys check it out. We're good friends, but I think I actually found it organically. Somehow, I was like, oh, he's got a YouTube, and it's doing really, really well. So I would check it out. So freelance photography, it's incredibly difficult to pursue. I'm going to be honest with you, and unfortunately, I think YouTubers and bloggers want to present themselves as super successful so they can sell you the idea of you being super successful.
Yeah.
I would consider myself successful in the sense that I'm doing what I love.
Yeah.
I love photography. I do it full time. I teach photography as well, but that's always been a supplemental kind of for fun. I genuinely like teaching. It's like a thing I love.
Yeah.
But freelance photography is incredibly difficult on your mental health.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that today. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my experience, but we also have an expert that can talk about it as well. So
I like talking about mental health. I mean, that's my day job. Is I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm working with people on their mental health, the way you think, feel, act, how you cope with stress, how you connect with people, all that sort of stuff. So, what's it been like for you in terms of? I follow you on Instagram. I follow you these other places. I see your work, and from the outside, I mean, that's how social media is. Right. It looks amazing, and it looks like you're doing great work. But I have no idea how you've been feeling and experiencing it. What's it been like?
First, I just want to put this out there. The grass is always greener on the other side. Okay. It's awesome. I don't have a boss. I work for myself. I make my own schedule. I do what I want when I want for the most part. But I don't have a stable paycheck.
Yeah.
And I may make I made $14,000 in a month once.
Yeah.
But then that's not a brag because I've had a month I didn't make anything.
Right.
It's happened.
Yeah.
And so
super uncertain and inconsistent.
Right. And maybe you could say, oh, well, maybe you're just personality types can deal with that better than some. But I can't actually. I don't think I was well suited for this. Yeah. But for me, I was so put off by working a 9-to-5 because I tried it. I really tried it. I worked a job since high school, and every job I ever had, waking up was the hardest thing to do in the world.
Yeah.
It was a battle I had to face every day, going to a job, being told what to do, and sit in this cubicle or whatever. But the flip side is waking up and not having a job, having to rely on yourself for motivation on what you're going to work on. And motivation doesn't work. You need to form habits. You need a schedule.
You need structure.
And this is something I actually struggle with to this day. I am terrible at that.
Yeah.
I
remember, man. We roomed together.
Yeah.
You're a guy who really values that and struggles with that.
Right. I'm figuring it out now.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. Everything's always work in progress. I'm working on what I'm either structuring my days of the week, this day I work on that, this day I work on this. But really having a place to be helps a lot.
Yeah.
And even if it's the gym, going to the gym at the same time every day, having consistency in other parts of your life, I think really helps for a freelance photographer.
Totally. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of the freelancers I work with who are my patients is your personal and professional life sort of blend together.
Right.
And you don't have all the structural separations that someone with a 9-to-5 does.
Right.
One of the biggest things we talk about in terms of preventing burnout for 9-to-5ers is help you be at work when you're at work and help you be at home when you're at home. What if it all is mixed together? Your studio, what if it's at work, And
right.
If your studio's at work, if your studio's at home and you're taking business calls at odd ends, or you're shooting a wedding on the or an event on the weekends. Well, where's your weekend now?
Right.
How are you hanging out with your friends and the people you love?
First of all, and it may just be how my brain works, and also because of my work, I don't have a weekend. I often sometimes I don't know what day it is.
Do you know what day today is? You were kidding.
No, I wasn't kidding. Today's Wednesday. I have to stop and think about
That
it.
took a while.
Yeah, right. I have to stop and think about it.
That's like a way different life than me.
Right. And sometimes I don't work on the weekends.
Yeah.
I usually most of my work is on the weekends. Sometimes I work during the weekdays. It just depends. But yeah, there's no consistency in that.
That means it becomes so much more important for you to find the time to yourself to take care of your stuff. Because it's not going to happen. You don't have a boss. No one's going to tell you, Mick, go home.
And what you were talking about, how do you like turn it on and off, or how do you delineate time? Like, how do you say, okay, now it's like home time, like relaxation time, or time with my partner. And starting off, it was a mess. I'll be honest. Like, it never turned off. I couldn't sleep. I was anxious all the time. I mean, I wasn't working as much. Now I work more, so I have.
You're building your business,
right? I was building a business. It did get better just because work got better, but if you think that once you're working a lot, it's gonna suddenly your brain is gonna be like at peace, it reverts back. It reverts back. The minute you don't feel like you're booking enough, it can revert back to that default of feeling anxious. A lot of it is perception. It's not even like. I'm not working a lot, but if I don't book anything new in a week or two, I start to like be like, uh-oh, I could have a lot of money in the bank. It doesn't matter. Your brain wants to go back to being stressed out.
Yeah.
And I could give you tips. I can relate. I can give you my experience, but the idea that you're going to be able to like quickly figure that out isn't true. Like right now, and I don't know if I got here until maybe even a year ago. I've been doing this for 10 years. Only a year ago could I say by like 10 p.m. or whenever I want to be done, I can be done and just stop working and be okay with it.
You know, there's like a lot of people talk about hustle culture right now, right? Hustle, like work hard, all of this sort of stuff. One of like the struggles there is the technical term for this is variable ratio reinforcement, but what it just means...
That's a new one.
Right. It's actually an old one. It goes way back to like B.F. Skinner.
Well, I meant to me.
Variable,
what was it?
Variable ratio reinforcement. Basically what it means is like if you're working really hard and every now and then you get a big payoff, it is super addictive.
Right,
so
it's
like
what
what gambling is based on. Like, you know, someone's going to win eventually.
Right.
It's kind of like when checking your email.
Yeah.
Like, I hate email, but you keep checking it because every now and then, like, there might be a big gig there.
That ding, like bing. Yeah, and it's a reward system. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
that's a lot of, like, hustling and being a freelancer. You got to put yourself out there, work so hard, like, put all this stuff out there because every now and then you might get that $14,000 paycheck. You know?
Right. And you feel amazing. And then the next month, you don't feel great.
Yeah, but you keep doing it because you might get that big payoff again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's my, like, root motivation.
Yeah.
But it's more of a side effect, I think, of the whole thing. And I don't enjoy it. Like, for me, the highs are not worth the lows. Like, I would prefer consistency.
Yeah.
I really would.
Yeah. You said something like... that I want to ask you this question because I've kind of been wondering about this. Do you ever feel like you got to take on work that you don't find creatively?
Oh,
yeah. You already knew where I was headed.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
When I was a younger photographer, and I don't know if it was age, I don't know if it was being just a newer photographer, but yeah, I felt like a monkey sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if anyone talked down to me a little bit, I got really angry because I'll be honest, like I love what I do. I love photography though. I don't love professional photography. It's not like that's my dream.
Yeah.
A lot of photographers, if you read their bios, it's like photography is my passion, and you see all these same like tropes. Like it's like, okay, I've heard this before. But the reality is like I wouldn't choose to work for someone else, period. If I had billions of dollars, I just wouldn't. Like I do my own artwork, right?
Yeah.
What you're doing when you're doing freelance work is you're doing something creative for someone. You're not creating. That's how I think of it, unfortunately.
I never thought about it that way.
But you find ways, like, so I've let go of a big one for me. So this is the value of a personal project, which does tie into mental health, right?
Yeah.
You have to create for yourself.
Yeah. That's what I always advise, like everyone, not just freelancers, but is like how do you find meaning in the work you do? And if you don't have meaning, and if it's not like tied to what you care about and your passions, can you do something on the side that gives you more contact with the stuff you really love?
Right, and just saying, okay, my professional photography is a creative thing I like doing, but when I no longer needed that to fulfill that creative itch, that desire to express something that I feel inside rather than just capturing something, then I enjoyed it so much more. Like, I now really enjoy it actually more now than when I first started out. Even though it may have been more exciting starting out, but maybe you have some nerves and all that. Now I just go, and a big one for me is just get, like, time flies now when I shoot. Because rather than, I don't try to put the time into perspective, like, okay, I'm here another 5 hours, another 6 hours, whatever. I just say, my goal, what I'm going to work on, is being present in the moment the entire time.
I love that. I love that. Have you ever heard of the idea of flow?
Yeah, flow state.
Yeah, flow state. So Mihail Csikszentmihalyi. The only way I remember that is like Csikszentmihalyi. Yeah. But he's done a lot of research into this, and it's like when your ability meets the challenge of the task, time kind of like disappears. Hey, buddy.
Or just really, my understanding of it was when entering the flow state, a lot of it is, hey, buddy, it's okay. My understanding of flow state was that when it's just a little bit above your ability, you rise to the occasion. And when something's too below, you get bored. I can completely relate to that.
Or if it's too high, you kind of quit.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Like if I'm not going to play chess against like a chess master.
What's the point?
Right.
I get like that when in jiu-jitsu, if I train with my instructor who's a world champion and a lot bigger than me, it's like, okay, it's not exciting. I don't feel creative. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get smashed. And it's not fun.
No.
It's not fun. When I train with people too below my skill level, what I do is I don't make it, for me, my training isn't about beating other people. It's about like raising my level, right? And if they're way below, what I do is I work on something different. I don't say, oh, I'm going to try to beat them. What? I don't get people that get something out of that, like beating someone up that's way below your level. But the sweet spot is when they're just a bit better than you, or at least in your range.
That's when you grow.
Right. And then I feel creative.
And that's another thing here is like, a lot of people who have a 9-to-5, it's kind of, you can kind of see your natural career progression, or even if you can't, you can quit this one company and work somewhere else. You can make a move like that. Like, you don't really have that when you're working for yourself. So you have to so focus on your growth and growing your abilities. You know, that's what it has to be about. And like, have you found that like you've kind of taken on different work, or like the way you're approaching it, like has that kind of changed over these years?
The way I approach my work?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. When I'm working, I'm always working on something. That keeps it interesting. You have to stay engaged. Like, it's not fun anymore if you're just, and if you, even if you're having fun, but you think you're the best you can be, you're not going to grow. And you're not, and that's hurting you. And also, I think most people will get bored if they feel like they're not progressing. Like, I'm satisfied with where I'm at with my skill, but that's horrible if I don't grow. And that's why I'll never tell myself, oh, I'm the best photographer. I don't care if there's a way to even measure that, which I don't think there is. But let's say I were the best photographer, I would still say, no, I'm not. Because if you're the best, it's easy to not get better. You're the ceiling.
That's making me also think of isolation versus connection. Like, a lot of people who work a 9-to-5 have a built-in social support. Like, let's go to happy hour. Like, let's have a Christmas party. Let's have, like, you know, you and I both don't celebrate Christmas. I don't know why I gave the Christmas party example.
I've been to Christmas parties.
I go to Christmas parties, right?
I had a Christmas tree.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Like, you have this like built-in support.
Right.
But when you're a freelancer, you're shooting events.
Right.
You're editing at home, probably alone.
Right.
Or you delegate to editors.
Right.
Right. Like, it can be so isolating. So how do you deal with that? Because like the number one thing in mental health is social support.
Yeah, and this is something I've realized, especially recently, where I had my support, I had my team at the gym, right?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And teaching, I get to connect with my students. I love helping people, right? And
Yeah.
I get to talk about what
And
I'm
you're a good
passionate
teacher,
about.
man.
It's fun.
You're a
I
good
enjoy it. I would do it even if I weren't paid, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But most of my time is spent at home with my dog Brixton,
Yeah.
editing photos or working on like updating my portfolio and all the stuff I don't really want to do. And I do honestly feel very isolated. That's a big problem for me.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm still working at, is like reaching out. So I don't like social media. I rarely open Instagram. I don't post enough. But I started this YouTube channel because in part, I wanted to connect with people.
Yeah.
Right?
And we reconnected kind of because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it is a way for people to connect. I didn't like Instagram. I don't like Facebook. I don't really have Facebook actually. But with YouTube, I'm able to connect with people that are passionate about the things I'm passionate about, and I'm able to help people. And that's kind of why I'm on YouTube, is like I love teaching my class of 8. Yeah. But this way I can reach a lot more people.
That's why I started my channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I would encourage like everyone who's watching. Every time I've worked with photographers, there can be such an we can fall into so much loneliness so easily. And so that would be like my number one tip, is like whether it's online, whether that's in person, you got to find support. None of us can do this on our own. Yeah. None of it. My job, it probably doesn't seem like it. It's a very lonely one. I spend most of my days, each hour is booked seeing a different person, and then I go home, And one of the dangers here is like I can be really isolated, even though I spend all my day with people. And I think it's the same for you.
Well, how do you avoid burnout then? Because that seems really rough. You're taking on everyone's energy, like really in a session.
Yeah. I gotta really, when I go home, I gotta connect with the people that are at home. But even more importantly, I have to set up stuff. I have to set up like connecting with some friend,
right,
or colleagues, other people who do my work, and we gotta like vent about it together,
right,
learn from each other, support each other, even if it's like once a month.
And that's a problem for me because I have no schedule, and I'm bad at like calling people like, hey, let's do something like in April, whatever. Like it's not in my DNA, and that's something I actually have to work on, I'll admit.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like Slack communities or like Discord communities like of photographers in LA
I think there absolutely is. I just personally haven't looked for them.
Yeah, and maybe that's something to try.
Yeah, I personally will probably try it. Yeah.
Cool.
I think you need to talk to your peers, and it's beautiful. Like, I think you need to look at other photographers not as like competition, but like your brothers and sisters that are in the same thing and that you can relate to. And I never think of other photographers as competition. Like they should be your friends, your allies.
The biggest thing I've struggled with on YouTube is competition, and thinking it's like me versus them. One of us is going to win.
Right.
And I just threw up a video about this, about mental health of YouTubers. And there was one channel that I felt like I was competing against. And in that video, like I do an interview and talk to that person. And they were feeling the same thing against other channels, And actually, when we kind of worked together, we were able to make like great stuff together.
Yeah.
So it's like, we can't do this alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap it there.
Mick, man, thanks for having me. It was so much fun to do this.
I love this guy. He's like my brother. I haven't seen him in like 5 years, but it never fades. He's still my brother, so it's good to see you.
Love you, man.
All right, make sure you guys check out his channel.
And I got a video with Mick where we're talking about empathy as a therapist and as a photographer. So check that out.
It's going to be a good one. And anyone interested in mental health or psychology should check out his channel. I genuinely love it and watch it. So.
Or like nerdy space things. I talk about that too.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's a Trekkie too, by the way. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.